only for the botany and zoology, for everyone. Everyone, those who are into scientific field, it is a need of the hour actually. Because our existence, if at all, even in Aadhaar or anywhere for that matter, our even in anything for that matter, our enrollment starts with the name actually. That means to say, naming is our existence. Our score starts when you start telling that I am son of so, I am son of so and so, I am like that it goes. As such, we are zero when we declare our whereabouts, then we get the score actually. So in this way, today I am going to talk about naming of plants, ICBN, International Code of Botanical Nomenclature. Though I am taking the botanical nomenclature, it is equally applicable for ICZN, for ICTV, for anything for that matter. Generally, I'm going to speak about all this because everyone is in need of the this particular subject, because I could understand the diverse group of people that are attending this very important refresher course, because I was also like you people, had a wonderful interaction with the then known resource persons actually. And ICBN, and I have put another important terminology, ICN. It has been amended from ICBN to ICN. The current and contemporary code of the International Botanical Congress is ICN, International Code of Nomenclature of Algae, Fungi and Plants. Why it's been changed from ICBN and ICN, we will be discussing one by one. So first of all, let me talk about this important systematic botany or field of the taxonomy. I can say field of biology that deals with the theory and practice. Because see, you know, we are into NEP model where we are talking about outcome-based reflective model, and otherwise we will also be, and it is clearly mentioned in NEP 2020, the one which is being accepted in Karnataka for the first time, that is experimental case study. I can say NEP, learners engagement model, that is IAL, involve, leverage, learn, apply, share, all this. That means to say, under that program, faculty excellence model is one of such programs where we are talking about CSIR model. That means to say, every one of us, since we are under one umbrella, talking to you people under one umbrella, where we should have a faculty excellence model. We should come out like collaborative, scientific, introspective, reflective. This is what the CSR model, where NEP 2020 mission mode of NEP 2020. Henceforth, you all together, wherever possible, have a collaboration for betterment of the society, for the end user, farming community, or the young budding community, that is scientific community or student community from your side actually, because you are the one who are there for another 30 years of service, where you can definitely do the things actually. The field of biology that deals with the theory, as I told you. But when you talk about taxonomy, very interesting, I can say. But though it might be after having discussed with the first lecture, who is my guru, Dr. R. Raghavan Rao, you might have now appreciating him, the way in which he has worked out in understanding of the diversity of this very important, tremendous diversity of this important plant kingdom actually. It cannot be inseparable, like plants and public. Plants and people cannot be inseparable actually. We are going together hand in hand actually. Henceforth, when you talk about taxonomy and its significance, we always remember three important cases actually, or three important objectives we are going to derive actually. So henceforth, so I am going to talk about another 5 minutes, then I will jump into slide that you don't worry, dear participants and dear learned colleagues. And this is how we want to give some preamble about the significance of this naming of the plants actually. There are three important functions in taxonomy. The way which was the terminology decandole, it was given by Decandole, an eminent scholarly pursuit in the field of taxonomy after Linnaeus actually, after Carolus Linnaeus, who is considered as the father of taxonomy. Because of him, today everything is ready reckoner. Though we are not at all utilizing his system of classification, that is sexual system of classification, that is artificial system of nomenclature, the way in which he started, he thought over it. In coming out a beautiful system of classification in the middle of the 18th century, that we have to appreciate. When there was no development in the field of science and technology, there was no development in the instrumentation technology, there was no understanding of organography, and there was no understanding of consanguinity, relationship between one and the other. There was no much development except Renaissance period that we had, like between 14th century and the 17th century. That is, we call, there was an advancement in the field of art, science, and culture. Leonard, that is Mona Lisa, all those, and Gothenburg printing machine. That all these have revolutionized in between Renaissance period. Renaissance period means revival of the science, arts, and culture actually. This is how at that time he had come to conclusion. He had established a beautiful system of classification that to based purely on the understanding of the stamens, positions, number, and union of the length of the stamens actually. I know you are having the background of some botanical background in your graduation. You will be understanding one of the very important organs in the flower, that is stamens, that he has utilized for making the classification when there was no classification existing actually, when there was no proper nomenclature for a particular plant species actually. This is how the system. Henceforth, we have to go for, when you talk about generally, I consider it's not a basic science. It is considered as an applied botany or applied science where everyone is in need of taxonomy, because application oriented. I cannot bring the Parthenon and for preparation of sambar. One should know application oriented, which is to be used, which is not to be used. There are n number of poisonous plants. We should know applied aspects. Even the early man, even the beginners, they had classified the plants with the primitive knowledge, what can be eaten, what cannot be eaten. That is why I consider taxonomy is not a basic science. It's an applied science or applied botany where we are having immediate use of the same actually. Henceforth, we have to give the credit to Carolus Linnaeus, a Swedish great titanic, gigantic personality in the field of taxonomy. Henceforth, he has been called father of taxonomy and zoology. Who had dreamt of reporting a world's global flora. I mean, the global flora and fauna. He wanted to report actually when he was at young, like us actually. So that is how we are talking about the naming of one of the important functions. There are three important functions in the taxonomy, though they are not related. It's separate but interrelated. Like one is the identification. Once you have identified, the next comes to your mind is once the baby is born, you have to go for naming. Otherwise, the existence, whether male baby or a female baby. Like that, once the plant has been identified, next function to be utilized always, central dogma, like protein synthesis, we talk about central dogma, like it is also there, that's naming. The third function is the classification, most controversial today because of advancement in the field of instrumentation technology, advancement in the field of science and technology, advancement in understanding organography. Today, it has become mess because experimental taxonomy is in force today. The only one organ was utilized by Carolus Linnaeus by depicting only stamens, and he has made 24 classes. But when the two important theories came into picture in the beginning in the 19th century by famous biologist who can be remembered by every scientific community, was the Charles Darwin, because of his famous theories after having visited 5 years of Galapagos Island. That is beautiful book on the origin of species. And another important guy, Alfred Russel Wallace, they have come to conclusion that whatever the plants or living organism that are there today are the descendants of earlier ancestors. Henceforth, the way in which we were looking for the classification of the plants have got changed. If you are considering only one organ, we cannot accept. We have to consider other different organs of a plant body or other organs of the animal body. Then only we can come to, then Another beautiful system came into picture, that is natural system of classification. The way Linnaeus has rejected habit based on the size of the plants, they were grouping the plant kingdom, but it was not accepted by Linnaeus at that time, because there was no classification at all. People were thinking only whether they're used for the medicinal purposes. They never thought of the thinking of a classification. But it was Linnaeus in the middle of the 18th century. His famous book started with the sexuality and plants. See, people were not at all able to understand whether sex organs are present or not. Though Andreas Isalpino, who is considered as the first plant taxonomist, he had denied the existence of sexual parts of the plant. There is no function of with regard to sexual parts of the plant. Then immediately in the first publication, it was Linnaeus who made first publication on sexuality of plants. And another important plants, when there was the confusion and there was miscommunication between the nomenclature, he was the one who introduced the proper nomenclature. Henceforth, the first publication on Critica Botanica. Before Linnaeus, many number of people came into picture. The one who is considered always, he was not the one who was talking about nomenclature. It was Bahin who introduced the nomenclature system in the 17th century. And at the same time, it was polynomials. Today we are talking about binomial, and it was polynomial. Even to remember the names of the plant, it was very tedious actually. For one plant like Sida acuta, it used to be 7 names. Althea, like you cannot listen to my lecture in case if it is continued like that. One plant name used to be 7 names, like Althea, Coromandel, Angustus, Folis, Semen, Bicarnia. Who will remember all these plants' name? Henceforth, beautifully come out with the binomial system of nomenclature because of the recommendation of Rivinus in 1689. That is why he has come out with the beautiful publication, Critica Botanica, then Genera Plantarum. Then finally, he has reported around 8,500 species at that time. By 1st May 1753, this is the starting point date of present day nomenclature. Please remember all this. Those who are young botanists and zoologists, this is the starting point date of present day nomenclature. We will always be considering 1st May 1753 because of the reason the Species Plantarum monumental work published by Carolus Linnaeus on this date. In this, he has made consistently using all plants name with the binomial system of nomenclature. Only 2 names mandate, not the polynomials, not the 9 names, not the 7 names that used to be practiced by the earlier taxonomist. Henceforth, major problem solved by Linnaeus, Carolus Linnaeus, and he has consistently used in his Species Plantarum, the monumental book, Flora. Even today, it is a starting point date of present day nomenclature. Henceforth, when you talk about second important function, we cannot forget the book written by Carolus Linnaeus, that is Species Plantarum, published on 1st May 1753, where we are taking into account for every purposes, for understanding of the naming of the plants, identification, for classification purposes. We consider 1st May 1753. Please underline 1st May 1753. Please note down 1st May 1753 is the one for all practical purposes, for every purposes. We consider this date. That's why we always remember this particular date. I'm stressing again. You should not feel bad, because that is the one we will be considering for all practical purposes actually. Henceforth, the introduction of generic epithet. A species must contain only 2 names. One is a generic epithet and the specific epithet actually. Combining together make binary, binomial, binomial. Everything is the same actually. Binomial system of nomenclature, which is usually credited to Linnaeus actually. So this is why Linnaeus has done, because he was liking his students like anything. He had 17 students. He has given all the 17 students the name of the plant actually, because they toured they ventured outside the Sweden country. They had been to different parts of the world actually. When there was no proper communication, they used to be hired in the ship as a plant doctor. He trained in such a way that they used to be recruited in the actually ship as a plant doctor, but their hidden agenda to explore whatever the plants world that are there outside the Sweden country. That in that way, even they had visited Malpe, they had visited Surat with the date I can say between in the 18th century, middle of the 18th century, they visited, they halted at Bombay. They could take some of the important plant like coffee, tea plant from India also, but they named actually, but though it was available here actually, we were not so much advanced in that. See the advancement in the field of science, the Europeans, how the colonization exploration started with they started understanding of the world's the different parts of the world, because 1497 the Vasco da Gama landed in our today's Calicut. So 1492 misidentification of Southern America by Christopher Columbus. See, when the world conquered, different parts of the world conquered, understanding of the plant kingdom, diversified group of plants also started understood by then taxonomist. The dominant figure was the Carolus Linnaeus, because very connected to naming of the plants, ICBN and ICN, Decandol. So 1813, it was Decandol who coined the terminology taxonomy in 1813, which means law of, that means to say, when you talk about taxonomy, we have to remember three knowledge. One is the taxonomic study as among its objectives, the learning of the kinds of plants on earth and their names very importantly. I have to communicate in the whether you are talking about local names or whether insisting to have a scientific name which is common to most entire commonality. We have to go for uniformity, distinctiveness, NDS character. I can say NDS, novelty, distinctiveness, uniformity, and stability. This is the very important, because this is the slogan for taxonomy as well as anything for that matter. Whether you are talking about research, when it comes to it should be a new name. There cannot be repetition. Novelty must be there. Distinctiveness must be there. Uniformity, this is the one aspect where we are approaching one uniform language, that is Latin. Because Latin alphabet, Roman, it has got Roman alphabet. It has been derived from scholarly language like Sanskrit, the mother of many languages in India. It was Latin. That's why the Latin has been utilized for the naming of the plants actually. Because many reasons, no country's language actually, since we are having problem internally. Everyone, the civil war starts. If I say Kannada becomes the major language, can be used for naming of. No, Tamilian will get, Hindi people will come forward. That's why it does not belong to any country's knowledge. It was utilized by the scholars and scientific community, though there was slang Latin, but it was Latin that was applied for naming of the scientific name. So their distinctness, the plants world, their distinctness, their affinity, their distribution and habitat characters, and the correlation of these facets of knowledge with pertinent scientific and data contributed by research activities of various fields of botanical endeavor. Second important knowledge or objective of this understanding of the nomenclature is a secondary objective of taxonomy is the assimilation of knowledge. Very important. See, people might be having, there are number of ethno people are there. Ethno botany, the Janaki Ammal, who is considered as the father figure in the field of the n number of in Andaman Nicobar, tribal people, n number of knowledge that are there. It has to be translated to our language, to the known language. So n number of people are here, where we have to understand dialect of their, how it depends on the when the circumstances come into picture, when the tribal are being beaten, are being beaten by, or are being by snake, how he is going to perform. He doesn't know how to communicate actually the Botanical Survey of India, where you have understood the Dr. R. Rao's lecture. So they are closely working. You have to be very careful because cannibalism is in practice. We have to be very careful when you deal with the tribal community, and we need to understand their language. It has to be communicated. Very n number of the value of medicinal plants actually that are there in the coastal in the southern part of India, that we need to know actually, for which there should be a standard functions of taxonomy, identification, nomenclature and classification. The second objective of taxonomy is the assemblage of knowledge we gained. This is usually done in the form of treatises for the utilization of fellow scientists. It may not be a taxonomist, it may not be a well-versed with a doctorate and postdoctoral fellows like us. Not necessary. Any ordinary person who is practicing the medicine can write, if they have done it actually. We have seen Ayurveda, Veda, Yajurveda. We have seen a number of books, Unani, everything we have seen. The way they have written, they had not had a doctoral degree or postdoctoral degree or post graduation program like what we had now. We are having now. Henceforth, it was written, there should be exchange of the fellow scientists unto the civilization in general actually. The mere acquisition of the knowledge, the mere possession of the inventories, it is sterile unless it is made available to others. Henceforth, then only it is of use and aid to the progress of civilization. This is very important. That means to say, the conversion of taxonomic data from a status of sterility to fertility is accomplished in many ways. Floras, publications, manuals, and monographs, revisions. These are the ways we are acquiring the knowledge. The third, very important, connected to both of us, connected to all of us, that is the scientifically basic objective or knowledge that we are going to gain is the demonstration of the tremendous diversity of the plant world, and in relation to humans' understanding of evolution. As I told you, two important theories put forward in the middle of the 19th century. That is what is called the origin of species, beautifully written by Charles Darwin, where we understand the different, that I told you how the evolution has been taken place, use and disuse theory of Lamarckism, Alfred Russel Wallace. These are the one. That means to say, a third and basically scientifically basic objective is the demonstration of the tremendous diversity of the plant world and its relationship and its relation to humans' understanding of evolution. That means to say, very important assignment all of us we are having. What is the very important assignment? An organized reconstruction of the plant kingdom as a whole can be made only after the inventory of the components, the plants that are available, that are being assembled. Unless what are all the different diversified group of plants that are available has been assembled, we cannot come to conclusion of a classification system. When this has been done, the charting starts actually. The charting of the degree and character of variation, very important. Charting of the degree and the character of variation will demonstrate the diversity. How we are going to understand the diversity? Unless we have the data of all the plants, all the components that are there on this Earth planet. The way, if there are 49 students, if I give the data only about 9 members, will you accept? Will you accept? It's kind of that. Unless we have all the information about all the 49 participants and who is the best, who is the second best, who is the third best, unless we collect the data. But today, what's happening that you know very well, and then and these data can then be integrated with other facets of evolutionary knowledge to produce more accurate phylogenetic schema. That I am going to jumping into now nomenclature. Please understand what has been done. Third important knowledge that we will be understanding tremendous diversity of plant world in understanding of the human's mind actually. That an organized reconstruction of the plant kingdom is made only after inventory of its components. That is very important. Unless we know, because for your information, one important international published data I want to mention. As of now, we know only 1.5 million species. We know means scientifically proven. That means the plants which are identified, named, and classified whatever the means. There are 4 categories of classification. One is the earliest based on the time and period. It was habit. That habit was that is the father of botany, Theophrastus, who introduced in his Historia Plantarum. That is very important. Though they were not knowing much about the classification, not interested, but they were interested in medicinal value. So they had classified based on the habit, based on the size of the plant, trees, shrubs, herbs. But please consider, a family must have contained trees also, shrubs also, that herbs also. We cannot consider based on the habit. Henceforth, it was n number of scientific communities started understanding of the classification, but it was till the middle of the 18th century, it was Linnaeus who rejected habit and come out with a beautiful system of classification, that is sexual system of classification. Again, though he has made a revolutionized in the field of taxonomy, he was also rejected by Michael Adamson in favor of natural system of classification, where D. Jessu, De Candle, Bentham and Hooker, many number of players were there, and they again, because of the epoch-making work of Charles Darwin and the Alfred Russel Wallace, the concept of natural classification, if you are understanding only the
sorry to interrupt, sir. Your slide is not moving, sir.
Sir, only 1 minute, I'll jump into. I'm giving you on preamble for 10-15 minutes, sir. Before I told you, sir. I told you that I'm going to go for slide preparation only for nomenclature, but I'm giving an overview of the why are we talking about second function. I'm giving you. Sorry for the sorry. I'm going to do
okay,
that.
Sir, okay, sir. Okay,
sir. Please understand some preamble that within 1 or 2 minutes I'm going to complete, and we'll start the nomenclature actually as such. So henceforth, that is again natural system of classification was rejected in favor of phylogenetic system of classification. The current and contemporary system of classification is the phylogenetic system of classification, phylogenetic system of classification, because if you are understanding only one plant, it is not sufficient unless it's consanguinity. I told you, very important terminology. Consanguinity, relation, ancestral properties, ancestral characters must be taken into account, where experimental taxonomy is coming now. Is taking lead, because the organography alone cannot be answerable. We have to understand this diversified group of ancestral characters. I have to, since trace passes from generation to generation, I need to know origin of the particular species, whereabouts and everything. Henceforth, the ancestral characters, evolutionary knowledge must be important. Henceforth, we are talking about phylogenetic system of classification. Why are we talking about why we have rejected habit, artificial system of classification, natural as such? Only if you know alone, no sufficient. Unless we get the data of your grandparents, then only we can understand the clear diversified group of. That's what I wanted to mention. That's why today the era is called the phylogenetic system of classification. Under that circumstances, that there is no change with respect to identification, nomenclature. That's why I'm talking about today the phylogenetic system of classification started with the Engler and Prantl system of their famous book, Die Natur Lichen Flungen Family, which is a very famous book, started with understanding of the experimental taxonomy. Then the later was Hutchinson, Taktajano. Those are the players under phylogenetic system. And very importantly, from 2006 onwards, the APG, Angiosperm Phylogeny Group, Bremer et al., where 8 number of scientific community, they are coming out with the beautiful system of classification by using the molecular data, molecular taxonomy. They are utilizing the data that's beyond the botany. They are cross-border research. They are crossing the botany and approaching the biochemistry, approaching the molecular biology, approaching the biotechnology, approaching the zoology, chemistry, for understanding the relationship between one and the other, understanding of the tremendous diversity of the plant world actually. So that is why we are into phylogenetic system of classification, but remain unchanged with regard to identification and nomenclature, because altogether different disciplines, different functions that we are going to talk about actually. So I was telling, when you talk about the diversity, we have experienced 5 mass extinctions so far over the different geological time scale actually. We are into 6th mass extinction crisis because of man-made, because of habit loss, degradation, over-exploitation. That's why the United Nations has come forward with the word sustainability where very important terminology, the international terminology, coined the terminology that sustainability is into force, sustainable use of anything for that matter. So henceforth, I was talking about, I had a disturbance like today we know only 1.5 million species, 1 million is equal to 10 lakhs. So we know only 1.5 million species so far, but to be known 3 million species, because most of the organism, diverse group of organism, they are there in the deep ocean. And for your surprise, 50 million species we have lost. But before understanding of the diversity, we have lost the diversity. We have lost the biodiversity. How to understand? Because 50 million species we have lost already over the 5 mass extinction crises that have taken place. Now, 6th mass extinction, that is human made, that's man's made, 6 mass extinction. All the 5 mass extinction that have taken place, they are the natural catastrophes. But the 6th one, what we are going to experience, that is many number of important fauna, flora we are losing actually. Whatever reported by earlier taxonomies that are not there today, we have lost n number of species. That is, species extinction is taking place because of the 6th mass extinction crisis. This is the indication of 6th mass extinction crisis. Dear participants, I have given some preamble about all this, but when you jump into the important secondary function, that is what is called the naming of plants, very important. I am indebted to these 3 guys. Because of them, I could able to know something today, that is in the field of botany actually. Dr. D.A. Govindappa, known botanist, Dr. G.R. Sumurthy, known taxonomist, and Dr. S. Shekhar Shetty. So, as I told you, I have told you about the taxonomy is an integrated and intuitive science of describing, identifying, naming, and classifying plants of all other organisms. Naming of plants, my now subject of importance for the day. Naming of plants is a function of taxonomy that I told you, that deals with the determination of the correct names for plants. It's a discipline that guides the selection of names. So of the taxa, scientific naming of plants is necessary because local names often confuse the people regarding the identification of plants actually. There are no common names for hundreds of thousands of organisms. Even when there are common names available, there are problems actually. Within the, I told you, same language, even within the single country, a single species can have more than one common name. Efforts were made to develop English. See, it's an international language. See, there, according to the literature, every 7 kilometers, there is a change in the dialect. The way I speak may not be true after 7 kilometers. This is not of own experience. It is a established theory by the literature people. For every 7 kilometers, dialects, the way I use the terminology for an article may not be true in case of after 7 kilometers. In the same Karnataka, I'm talking of taking one example of Karnataka. Northern Karnataka people speak a different language than compared to southern parts of the Karnataka. The way Hindi speaking people of Delhi may not be same with regard to Punjab or with regard to Uttar Pradesh or with regard to Madhya Pradesh. So that's why English, they try to go for English as a using the common language for applying the scientific name to a plant actually. That did not work out because many English names have often been applied to the same plant. For example, Rus vernix, anacardiaceae member, that is mango, is known as poison elder, poison sumac, poison dogwood, and swamp sumac, etc. Henceforth, we cannot use. A name must be unique in nature. I told you, NDS characters, novelty, distinctiveness, uniformity, and stability. These are the names. There should not be degeneration with regard to name also. The same common name is applied to more than one species, and they might not even be closely related. Datturi in Kannada is sometimes referred to Datura Solanacea in southern parts of Karnataka, while the same Datturi name is applied to Argemone mexicana of Papaver, very important plant in the northern parts of the Karnataka. See the Datura. See, common name if you apply, which is going to be the way it might have happened for the Anjaneya. Ask him immediately. He was asked to bring Sanjeevani, but he was not knowing anything about Sanjeevani. Then he could brought every plants that are available flora at that time that we can see in the picture. He has brought entire a part of the mountain. He has brought because he was not knowing the actually what was Sanjeevani. Today, people are speculating Selaginella. That's a different story. I'm not talking about that. One should be clever enough in understanding, in identification of the name of the particular plant, where it is applicable here. Actually, Anjaneya, he was not knowing. At the same time, we are talking about the Piper nigrum, or likewise many number of plants being called in a way Piper nigrum. Pepper is variously known as black pepper, white pepper, kali mirch, gole mirch. Similarly, a single common name lily is used for many genera of the Liliaceae like Lilium, Erythronium, Imirocalis, Iridaceae, Amaryllidaceae, Gingiveraceae. Moss is a group of plants belonging to bryophyte, but bog moss is a sphagnum. Reeder moss is a lichen. Spanish moss is a Tillandsia unicidis. Bromelaceae is in angiosperm. See that when you talk about moss, it is usually applicable to lower group. But see the angiosperm has also got the same name of moss. If you say moss, you bring moss to my student, he will bring angiosperm. Or he might bring bryophyte. That should not be the confusion. In England, corn refers to several grains, such as wheat. They call even for wheat, even call oats, even for CMAs, they call corn actually. This again results wrong. So whereas cowslip in some parts, like that, the Caltha palustris of Ranunculaceae, where other parts it primrose species of primula, like that it goes on using the same name. Henceforth, before the middle of the 18th century, the names of plants were commonly polynemous. I told you Sida aquata was named as Althea, Coromandel, Angustis, Prolongis, Folis, Semen by Karna. Similarly, Plantago major of Plantagenaceae was named as 9 names. Plantago, Folis, Ovatis, Glabris, Nudoscopo, Teritis, Spica, Flasculus, Impri. Instead of knowing the name of the plant, it used to be description of the plant. Diagnosis of the plants actually that we cannot call as names. The description or diagnosis characteristics of the particular plant cannot be taken as a name of a particular plant actually. That's why they have come to consensus. There should be binomial system of nomenclature. It was recommended by Rivinus, 1689. So these polynomials served as the labels for the taxa and at the same time as the diagnosis of the species. The way we talk about in the practical classes, when you take out the plant, habit, habitat, then inflorescence, all those the availability, all those we speak in a practical classes. That is not the proper nomenclature. It's a cumbersome system where in a plant name consists of many descriptive phases. Henceforth, to overcome the difficulty that have been resulted, the polynomial system of nomenclature, botanists of the world have given scientific names and now they are based on the Latin language actually. I told you about the Latin language, the importance of Latin language, why we are considering the Latin language. You will be understanding later because we are going to share that. Then scientific names. This is the one where we need to understand the way we are having the document. So that should be the spirit. The scientific names of plants are based on the Latin language known universally by scholars and students throughout the world. Then alphabet, to be universal. We wanted to have a because of the 188 countries in the world there should be. If I'm speaking about Piper nigrum, even a non-life science scholar, like if they are into chemical biology, that biological chemistry, those who are working on some of the plants of a chemistry department, those who are working some of the plants to be sent to the astronauts, we know the germination that has been taken as recent news that we have read by that PSLV, that is a great news. Germination could take place by one of the plants actually that was sent along with the missile. So this is what the PSLV, the recent news. For those who are using the physics people, they should know the plant which are speaking of the same for all the 188 countries that are present. That means uniformity. That is, language should be universal. Scientific names must be written in the same alphabet and the same language. Because if there is, if we meet with an accident in China, we should know the technical language, scientific knowledge to be operated in China by the known doctor in India, by the known doctor in the in USA, sitting in USA, because online transaction, this is very important. Henceforth, see the importance. Otherwise, it will be a describing an elephant by 8 the blind people. So this should not happen. No. Henceforth, the scientific names of living organisms are therefore Latin, are treated as Latin, even if they are derived from other languages actually. Henceforth, when we have come across, see, we have reported 18 new species. See, we have come across in Bandipura of Karnataka state, where the forest area, so evergreen element, Bandi, we have of Viscaceae, Viscum bandipurens. Viscum bandipurens. Latinize the same by sending to Kew Botanical Garden. So everything should be Latinized. The technical terminology, everything we have written in English, they have Latinized. There is a software, and if you send it to Kew Botanical Garden, the experts are there. The International Association of Plant Taxonomy, the greater organization is there. They will help you. They will not have any unethical practice. Your the invention will be duly acknowledged, and they will be sending out with the secrecy to be published in the peer-reviewed journals actually. Names of taxa above the rank of genus. There is a clear-cut procedure to be followed as per ICBN, International Code of Botanical Nomenclature. How a name for, we have different ranking system. Taxonomic unit of any rank is known as taxon, but in the sense, the way we speak about basic unit of taxonomy species, the taxonomic unit of any rank is known as taxon. There must be a taxon where we are going to categorize above from one end the above class, order, family, generic epithet, specific epithet, like that it goes on. There must be a taxon. That's why taxonomic unit of any rank is known as taxon. Taxon must be there. The names of taxa above the rank of genus consists of one term only, and they are called uninominal or unitary. They are plural nouns or adjective used as nouns and are written with a capital initial letter. See, in English grammar, we value the punctuation marks. There are 7 punctuation marks. Even in taxonomy, when it comes to nomenclature, we value each and every punctuation mark wherever it is applicable, because full stop, comma, colon, semicolon, exclamatory, everything is useful in nomenclature, because of it has got value. If you put full stop, it means abbreviated, Linnaeus full form. If I write L full stop, it is abbreviated. It is need of the hour, because as per mandate, procedures to be followed, code, aims of the code should be fulfilled. Henceforth, punctuation mark is very important when you talk about nomenclature. Names of genera are also uninominal. They are singular nouns. According to the Joseph D. Tournefort, the last practical unit of classification is the generic epithet, whereas species are the variants of the genus. So henceforth he is been called father of modern genus concept actually. Tournefort, who has given wonderful genus concept. The practical unit of classification is the genus according to him actually. Whereas species are the variants of the genus actually. Names of genera are also uninominal. They are singular nouns written with a capital initial letter. You should be informed to other non-scientific, non-life sciences students who are taking care of research actually. Should be written initial capital letter. That is plumbago, capital P, plumbago xylonica. Hypomia carica, capital I, Hypomia carica. That is NASA. That is inadmissible, because of the reason both generic epithet and scientific specific epithet should not be repeated. That is inadmissible. That should be rejected. I'm talking about earlier name, NASA. Like that, we should have an initial capital letter for the generic epithet. You have to practice. Otherwise, once you write the generic epithet with initial capital letter, should be like it should be practiced for everyone. This is how we should be underlined separately with the generic epithet and the specific epithet, and put the authority L without italicizing the authority. If it is Linnaeus, put Li, L-I-N-N or L full stop. Specific epithet should be underlined To begin with the small initial letter, names of taxa intermediate in rank between the genus and species. This is the routine practice of a professor, becoming a professor, becoming a researcher. Whatever I am speaking about should be practiced, because we should not, we are the way we respect the Constitution of India. We should be there wearing of helmet, like when you are going by with the two-wheeler. This should be the practice. That's what my intention of the delivering the lectures, updating with the scientific community, like you people actually. You have to practice while writing in the board itself, while delivering the lecture. When you write a generic epithet, initial capital letter, underline it, then specific epithet, underline it separately, and put authority for the first time at least. Then there will be abbreviation, like hypomia, I full stop. Again, underline it and full stop. This is very important. Hypomia carica. Like that, Plumbago xylonica, Zia maize, capital Z, subsequently Z, because you will be writing n number of research articles because of various reasons. Maybe if I am wrong, for promotion purposes, for writing the project proposal, for funding agencies, like that, a very n number of activities you are going to do, where we should not be underestimated by the peer committee, peer review committee or body, supreme body, who are people who are sitting, who have got experience of more than 30-35 years of in this field. Actually, they will be underestimating you. Henceforth, my advice as a senior, names of such taxon is not a uninomial, but it's a combination of the name of the genus with another term peculiar to the taxon, preceded by a word indicating its rank, that is primula, subgenus primula. This is how we are going to do it actually. That is noun. This may be a singular noun or a plural adjective. This is very important, coming to the very important point, because we were having the practice of polynomials. I have told you best example of having 7 names and 9 names. Names of species, where we are talking about today, names of species consist of 2 terms only and are therefore called binomial, binominal, or binary. Generic name and specific epithet, which together form a binomial combination or binary epithet. Specific epithets alone do not convey any sense. It's nonsense. If you write specific epithet alone, it does not convey, unless like an orphan, whereabouts we don't know. Unless there is a generic epithet, specific epithet will not have any role. That is very important. The specific epithet by itself has no standing in plant nomenclature and cannot be used alone to refer to any organism. This should be the right practice. Specific epithets are written with small initial letter, as I told in the a few minutes ago. So that means the names of species should be binomial. Only it should be containing 2 terms. One is generic epithet to begin with the initial capital letter. Very important point I am talking about. It should be there for your life till as long as you are in the profession. Should be there. Even in the 21st International Botanical Congress have been taking place. There is no change in this regard. Actually, there are changes. There are amendments that I am going to discuss. That has to be practiced actually. Names of taxa below the rank of species. There are cases. We are talking about variety. We are talking about pathotype in case of fungi. We are talking about strain in case of viruses. We talk about the pathover in case of bacteria. Please note down what would be the situation in that circumstances. Names of taxa below the rank of species. Names of taxa below the rank of variety is considered subdivision of a species. What is the variety means? Subdivision of a species. Under the botanical code, several categories of taxa below the rank of species are recognized. Names of subspecies are therefore trinomial always. Balanophora indica, subspecies indica, trinomial. If you are given the situation like that, you have to write trinomial. At the same time, the finer quality like ecotype, we are talking about, it is available only at the higher altitude. Ecotype, ecotin, deem terminologies that we use in the experimental taxonomy, very finest quality, only restricted to particular geographical distribution. Endemic species I'm talking about, it has got a restricted distribution. It cannot be applicable for the cosmopolitan species where worldwide in distribution. It is not applicable for the finest quality, that is Balanophora fungosa, subspecies indica, trinomial. Balanophora fungosa, subspecies indica, variety indica, it will be tetranomial. That means to say, names of the taxa below the rank of species, it may be trinomial, it may be tetranomial. Please note down, this is very important because of the reason there are chances when you talk about breeders, when you talk about the specialized organism like COVID-19, we are talking about HMP today, strains, what kind of strain? It is restricted to particular country. In that cases, we are going for finer quality, refinement of the same. We are going behind the species level. There is subdivision of a species. It is called variety. In case of plant, in case of fungi, it's called pathovar. In bacteria, in case of fungi, we call pathotype. In case of viruses we call strain actually. Like this, it goes off. Henceforth, we have to be conversant enough with regard to names of species, names of the taxa below the rank of species. That is should be practiced actually. See, rank ending example. This is a routine where we talk about phyta, all those actually. Then we have different ending, different example that I have given that you can know. That's not a big thing. But I wanted to know the current activity of botanical nomenclature is governed by International Code of Botanical Nomenclature, where I wanted to stress upon because of the reason there has been a sea change with regard to ICBN by the International Association of Plant Taxonomy, IAPT. The code is revised after changes at each International Botanical Congress. Actually, this is what usually happens once in 6 years. Once in 6 years, the IBS is going to take up. So next, we are talking, we had a Madrid, Spain, the 20th Botanical. We had a 18th International Botanical Congress at Melbourne. We had a 19th International Botanical Congress where we talk about the Shenzhen, China. That this is what every once in 6 years it's going to happen. It's going to be held actually. The naming of animals is governed by the International Code of Zoological Nomenclature, ICBN, and that of bacteria by the International Code of Nomenclature of Bacteria, ICNB, and now also bacteriological code, BC also simply say for, and naming of the cultivated plants, we say International Code of Nomenclature for cultivated plants. No two taxa can bear the same correct name, scientific name within the provisions of a particular code. But across the code, if it is the same name within the ICBN, is not admissible. The same name, if it is also available in ICBN, will also be admissible in ICZN. There are cases I am going to tell about. That means to say same names are allowed across the code. If it is behind the code, not in the ICBN, same name cannot be allowed. But same name may be allowed in case of the ICZN. That is allowed actually. This is what the mandate of the rules and regulations. The genus Pieris ericaceae refers also to some butterflies in animal kingdom. See the across the code allowed. Similarly, the generic name Cecropia urticaceae in plant kingdom refers also to showy moss in animal kingdom. That means to say, that is why to obviate the confusion arise from these, there are the possibilities of drafting by a code or phyllo code have also been developed during the last decade for convenient handling of combined database for all organisms. Like this, we are going to obviate the confusion that are resulted due to the common names that are in the one code and also in another code, across the code actually. This is a solution only if you are going to introduce draft by a code or phyllo code that is being planned, but it will take a long time before their acceptability because of many reasons actually. Henceforth, see the way we are having different constitutional articles dictating the terms, status of fundamental rights, the way we talk about written by Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar, a similar kind of situation where International Botanical Congress, International Association of Plant Taxonomy, they have come out with the recommendation because very existence of everyone, including ourselves, name, there should be proper following the rules and regulation because to bring out the uniformity in the different parts of the world actually. Henceforth, they have come out with the 6 principles and 75 articles under the principles of ICBN and ICN or ICN. As I told you, there is a difference between ICBN and ICN. I am going to tell when did it get changed and all those I am going to talk about in the subsequent. When you talk about the principles of code, there will not be each and every word is accountable here. We are not permitted. We cannot afford to change the terminology that are being put in the principles of ICBN actually. Botanical nomenclature is independent of zoological nomenclature. The code applies equally to names of taxonomic groups treated as plants, whether or not these groups were originally assigned to the plant kingdom. By mistaken, if any organism treated as an animal comes under animal kingdom, now it is now changed according to the proper identification. Now it is being considered under the plant kingdom, irrespective of the earlier system actually. That's why botanical nomenclature is independent of zoological nomenclature, is no way connected. We have a different set of rules and regulations. That's why ICZN is different. Bacteriological code is different. ICTV is different. Each one has its own rules and regulations according to the morphology being the backbone of taxonomy actually. The second important principle of the ICBN that we are talking about is the second one, where everything is governing the principles of nomenclature lies in the second important principle. That means to say the application of names of taxonomic groups is determined by means of nomenclatural type. What is meant by nomenclature type, that I am going to talk about now. What is meant by nomenclature type? The application, how to secure a name to a plant when you come across a new taxon, when you come across due to field work, when you come across a new taxon, new plant, how to name, how to apply the name. The way we like our children, the way we name after our god or goddess. So that is the parents' duty, but here taxonomist's duty. How to secure a name to a plant? The application of names of taxonomic groups is determined by names of nomenclatural type. That is called typification. The process is called typification. What is meant by typification? That is important, that we want to know. That I will talk about only principle number 2 in the subsequent slide actually. Typification. You have to remember, under principles of the code, second principle belongs to nomenclature. That is typification. The application, the way we give the names to our children, it is the duty of the taxonomist who come across new taxon under the principles of typification. What are all the procedures to be followed under second principle? We'll come to know in the subsequent slide actually. The third important principle of the ICBN, the nomenclature of taxonomy group is based upon the priority of publication. If anybody comes a new taxon, he or she has to publish immediately. He has to get the acceptance letter by following the regulation, by Latinization and everything, irrespective of the country, and submit once he gets the acceptance letter, date of acceptance letter, date of notification, date of indication, all those is the priority. Those who afterwards, even if he report the same species by another person or another country, it is not valid. Priority of publish. Those who validly publish the data and get the acceptance letter from the organization will have the priority of the authority over that particular taxon. That means to say, there will be controversies. Sir, I published first, I have identified. Unless it is registered, unless it is accepted by the organization, like whether Kew Botanical Garden or Acharya Jagdish Chandra Bose National Botanical Garden, by submitting the herbarium or type nomenclature type, that I will come to you. The confusion between that and all, I will come to you. I will explain you with the principle number 2. The nomenclature of the taxonomy group is based upon the priority of publication. That you please note down. Priority of publication is the third principle. The fourth principle, very important one, each taxonomy group with particular circumscription, particular restriction, I can say. Circumscription means restriction. Position and rank can bear only one correct name, whether it may be applicable to any orders, any rank for that matter, whether it may be order, it may be class, it may be a family, it must contain only one correct name. The earlier that is in accordance with the rules, except in specified cases where is inevitable, where is not. Like one example I want to give you, Thea chinensis tea plant. It was available, it was first cited in Assam, but there was no continent, there was no existence because of king's rule at that time. They were knowing only China rather than India. They are misnomer by giving chinensis, but it was cited in Assam region actually, the Thea chinensis. it's a misnomer. In the specified cases where if the code agrees, if the code permits you to change the Thea Indica, like that, if they want to change it, they are permitted only upon prior approval of the code. Otherwise, you are not allowed to change the name of the plant. It's been already there. So in this context, I want to take up a moment of all of you, because there are exceptional cases where 8 families have been identified, which can have both the names. Both the names are valid, I can say. That names I want to mention composite, because please note down, is the alternative name is the Asteraceae, Cruciferae, Arabidopsis thaliana, Brassicaceae, Graminae, all the cereals, that is Poaceae, Guttiferae, Clusiaceae, Labiatae, Lamiaceae, Leguminosae, Fabaceae, Palmae, Aracaceae, Umbelliferae, Apiaceae. These are the 8 families which have got both are valid, old name as well as alternative. Either if you write any one name is also valid. This is called exceptional case actually. This is an exceptional cases under 4th principle. There are 8 families which have got exceptional cases which can be put both the ways. Composite can be called Asteraceae because the regulations say that the family name must end with ACAE. But here the name of the family is Composite, Umbelliferae, AP, like that it goes differently, Labiatae, Leguminosae, Umbelliferae, like that. But here, due to the usage from the beginning, from the 1st May 1753, the names have been conserved. There is a nomina conservanda. There is a separate article, regulation under ICBN is admissible. Henceforth, 8 exceptional families where we can call both the names even today. 8 exceptional families. Please note down how many families you remember? 8. That itself, because diversified group of people are there. That's why I always concentrate on 8 families which can be called both the names. Whereas in case of botanist, I will insist you to remember those 8 names, because you are going to teach the subject in the subsequently. That's also there. Might have read, may be knowing. I don't want to underestimate you, but my concern is it comes under 4th principle. 8 families are exceptional. Then immediate important point that we always talk about, the scientific names of taxonomic groups are treated as Latin regardless of their derivation. Whether you are reporting from Tamil Nadu, whether in Tamil or in Malayalam or in Hindi or Orissa, it has to be Latinized, whether in Karnataka, Kannada. So the way I told you, many number of species we have Latinized. Bandipura is the Kannada name. It has been Latinized. Bandipurens, Viscum bandipurens, for the first time we have reported from our laboratory. So Viscum bandipurens, like that. That another important, that means to say, irrespective of the language that you have noticed, it has to be Latinized. Scientific names of taxonomic groups are treated as Latin regardless of their derivation. Henceforth, you have to be very careful. It should be Latinized, otherwise it cannot be accepted, even if you come across a new taxon. The 6th principle, the rules of nomenclature are retroactive unless expressly, it is expressly, clarity, explicitly, clearly limited. If at all, rules of nomenclature retroactive. Retroactive means it is applicable from 1st May 1753. Retroactive from the inception. The rules of nomenclature is retroactive unless there is a provision with the permission of the code. Yes, here is a wrong. It is been wrong. It has been proved wrong. Nobody is accepting this particular nomenclature. Kindly permit me to change the same, the synonym, basionym, like that. I am going to tell you the different nomenclature, naming the terminologies in the subsequent slide. So unless expressly, that is, clarity is not there, clearly is not there, definable way is not there, limited. If there is a limitation in understanding of the particular nomenclature, it is admissible. Otherwise, most of the cases, it may not be. Okay. Unless expressly limited actually. So I told you under a unique expression, these are the conditions that I am. See, these are the 20 Indian Botanical International Botanical Congress have been taken place. Last one is the 2024 Madrid, Spain. So now we are jumping into the new code that is a very important one, as I have mentioned, ICN. And I'm going to talk about the typification, then it will be of a greater importance. The decision intended to provide clear, fair rules to bring about stability in the nomenclature. Alter the title of the code, it would be called hereafter the International Code of Nomenclature, ICN, of algae, fungi and plants, AFP. The code will allow the electronic publication of names of new texts. Earlier, we used to send the publication hard copies. Now, electronic publication is also. Very importantly, you should note down, beginning of 1st January 2012, names of new plants, algae and fungi may now published with a validating diagnosis or description that is written in either in Latin or English, also given provision. The 18th International Botanical Congress has made several provisions. It was held in Melbourne, Australia. So it has given, see, there is a drastic sea change. So not only Latin language, even we are allowed to description I'm talking about. Even English also description is allowed. This step would hopefully help taxonomists in their race to document biological diversity before it is lost to the deforestation and habitat degradation and threatens their extinction. As I told you, the very importantly, the 6th mass extinction crisis that would result because of over exploitation of the same. Now, very importantly, I want to take up two important, your 1 minute fraction of time. From now on, only a single name applies to each fungal species. A principle that has been articulated as one fungus, one name. Please note down, this is very important, because, and in the fungi, the earlier code, asexual stage used to be one binomial name and sexual stage used to be another binomial name. This was allowed in the earlier cases actually. This is not correct according to the new ICN. That means to say, the sexual teleomorphic stage is known by the generic name hypocrea of the Trichoderma argenum, whereas the asexual stage, anamorphic stage or mitosporic stage is called Trichoderma argenum. That you please note down, biocontrol agent. Here we refer the genus collectively as hypocrea or Trichoderma. This is been obviated. The new rules and regulation, now they have come out with the slogan, one fungus, one name. No more asexual stage, one binomial name. Sexual stage, one by no. Yeah, from 1st January 2012 onward, after 18th Botanical Congress, it is implemented actually. So that will helpful. The nomenclature of fossil plants, algae and fungi has been changed. Paleobotany has adopted the principle of one fossil, one name, because morphotaxa, earlier the paleobotanists used to get one organ, used to call binomial. Now, no more calling of one fossil. This only one name actually, similar to the changes made for the fungi actually, mycological nomenclature. The code eliminates the concept of morphotaxa. So henceforth, the aims of the code, stable method of naming of taxonomy group, avoidance and rejection of names which may cause error and confusion and ambiguity, avoidance of useless creation of name, to put the nomenclature of the first into an order to provide that to that of the future. Hence, the citation of the authority we should put, the way he has worked, so relentlessly, without any this one. If it is a very tedious job to work in the field of taxonomy, because he has to work in the field, he has to understand the morphology, various organography, and the different climatic condition. All those he has to work. Henceforth, we due respect must be given to the authority. That's what Linnaeus has named all his 17 apostles, students community. He used to respect like anything. Everyone, yes, Tanbargia, the last student of Linnaeus, who has given Acanthus Tanbargia, Aleta Tanbargia, he has given the name for all his students. See the respect he has commanded with the student. Tanbargia aleta, Tanbargia latifolia, very beautiful flowered plant, like Kamia, who had been to North America, Kamia. There are number of generic epithets have been named after a student actually. This is how so double citation can also be permitted if there is an error in the earlier nomenclature. That is what is called the double citation. At the last one, I want to, I have been asked to conclude within 5 to 10 minutes. Typification comes under Second principle, I am going to I am going to talk about the typification is the process of designating a nomenclature type to a name. That means it is the means by which they are allocated taxa. There must be herbarium sheet. You are familiar with the herbarium sheet. The way we are having the document for our date of birth, like SSLC or 10th standard or birth certificate, there must be nomenclatural type. That is what is called for the first time who is going to validly depositing in the Kew Botanical Garden or in the National Botanical Garden is called holotype. That is one herbarium connected. That's linked with the naming. The way we are having the link with the birth certificate and my date of birth, there must be one nomenclatural type. Nomenclatural type means is in a simple herbarium where you are going to report the taxon should be given by specifying 7 characters: name, locality, this, everything, locality and everything should be given. A type, this is called type method. This was recommended by Britain School of Thought in the American Code, actually, second American Code. It was actually Decandal who in 1867 who introduced the nomenclature into Setrate. The second code immediately Britain School we call the type concept, unless there is a specimen, holotype. If it is lost, then only we talk about lectotype, because some other people will be validly. The way we lose the mass card, there is also chances of losing the holotype. Original, but we are going to make a lectotype. Let other person will go to same place by knowing the details and bringing back to the same herbarium by some other author and keeping the same in place of holotype, original type specimen. This is called the lectotype, duplicate mass card, duplicate specimen of the same kind of, because we will be knowing the where he has actually earlier author has collected. So a name is permanently associated with its type. A name is therefore applied to the taxon within the range of variation of which type was. It is names. Please note down. It is names, not taxa that have types. According to the circumstances, it gets changed the nomenclature. First one, which is validly published, is the holotype. Second one is the obviously isotype, duplicate of the holotype. For various reasons we collect 6 specimens. We in the department itself by sending the Kew Botanical Garden. Even if you lose everything, the specimen which are available, the type specimen which are available will be elevated to the rank of holotype, that from the isotype or parallel different field number having the same taxon, that is paratype. This is what, even if you lose lectotype, which is elevated the rank of holotype, even if it is lost neotype, another photography and interpretation, diagnosis, everything will be taken into account actually. That is a cumulative record where we have in the school, even if you lose the duplicate mass card. This is what it is names, not taxa. Taxon will remain the same. The names according to the convenient. It is not the purpose of a type to be typical in the variation sense. The purpose of a type is to be provide fixed point in the range of variation of organism. Henceforth, I told you about the holotype, everything: sync type, lectotype, isotype, paratype, neotype. As I told you, in a simple name changes, nomenclature reason, synonyms. I told you. Taxonomic synonyms, everything I am going to give you. But in gist, I want to say what are all the circumstances the names comes actually. Conserved names, as I told you, naked names without any diagnosis, we call names that can be rejected. There is no legislation. Superfluous name, ambiguous name. A publication, a priority of publication, data publication, I told you, priority I told you actually. So like that starting point, I told you about the 1st May 1753, effective publication, valid publication, like this. So these are the way the nomenclature. Actually, we need a lot of, but I request you to kindly interact at least for 5 minutes so that what I wanted to convey. That there I have another important one, APG, but due to there are 8 authors, botanists who has come forward with the phylogenetic system of classification, need of the hour, current issue that is going on, APG 1 to 4, APG 1, 2, 3, 4, where it is based on the D. Jesus publication of Genera Plantarum under natural system of classification, where they have used 15 system of classification and they have taken the molecular data and they have isolated genes. They have come out with the phylogeny, where the many number of 8 authors, including where one taxonomist who is also serving as a vice chancellor, Bremer, Mark Chase, and like Mike Fay and Jael Reveal and Douglas Saltis, and Pamela Saltis and Missouri Botanical Garden, where they have worked in that. They have made clade actually. So like this, they have made 15 classes. Basis is the D. Jesus classification. There should be some basis that is they have taken. A modern system for flowering plants was planned in 1990s by the Angiosperm Phylogeny Group, which involves a few eminent botanists. The system contains classification of the level of orders and families only. Molecular analysis done by taking the DNA samples from chloroplast, 2 chloroplast gene and 1 gene coding for ribosomes. Like this, major points. They're not to use formal scientific name be above the level of order. No more above the level of the way we are having the classification above the level of order. It's not mentioned. Rather to have a named clades such as eudicots, monocots, and roses section. So major points to place substantial number of taxa whose classification has traditionally been uncertain. So major, like it goes on, bracketed taxa are introduced to help the cope with the transition from the older morphological based classification to the newer molecularly based system, that is bracketed taxa. Like that, initially they have gone for 1998, initially 40 orders, 462 families, many families not yet allocated to any order. APG 2003, 45 orders, 457 families. Like this, it goes on. So there are a number of changes like Tectona grandis of Verbenaceae. Now they have merged to the Malvaceae because of the similarity with regard to DNA. Like that, clade, all those terminologies, they have used it. And this is how the APG 3, 2009 and 2016 APG 4, there are n number of families. They have changed it based on the dendrogram. That is, they have obtained similarity. Rafflesia, biggest flower, very noxious coarse flower found in the Indonesian rainforest. So advantage, as I told you, many number of advantages are there because experimental taxonomy, they have given the importance. So like this, it goes off. Many number of families, they have changed it because of the analogy, similarity and dissimilarities. But it is a beginning actually. Don't consider that it's a greater work unless we understand every component that are available on this earth planet. We cannot consider it's a complete understanding of the same actually. So thank you very much for your patience hearing. I request you to kindly 1 or 2 questions